Well, just getting ready for our, first ACC weekend series. Obviously, going to be a big test. Every weekend's going to be ACC games moving forward, except one. And I feel like the schedule this year is going to be the toughest schedule we've ever played. And I'm not just saying it as a typical quote a coach says. I absolutely mean it. When you add 6 ACC games, and you take away 6 games, which will be midweek games. And our conference is probably as deep as it's ever been. Not probably, it is as deep as it's ever been. So this is going to be a big challenge. Our guys are excited, obviously coming off of, exciting weekend in Gainesville, and big for us. And obviously there's a lot of excitement in the program. Main thing, our guys, is to make sure we keep it all in perspective. We got 46 more of these to go. And, nobody's going to remember the first weekend if we don't play well the rest of the season. So we got to make sure we're ready to go on Friday.
All right, Gino, our first question for you comes from Matt Shodell of CaneSport. Matt, go ahead.
Hey, Gino, how you doing?
Good, Matt. How you doing?
Doing great. Congrats on winning the series. So, you always learn a lot, good and bad, about your team in the first few games. And, big picture, I was hoping you could sort of weigh in maybe on something that maybe surprised you in an encouraging way, and then also something that you think needs to improve, as you said, over these next 46 games, what you want to see get better. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, you're always, I guess, it's hard when you're inter-squadding against each other. You can't have it both ways. I've said this before. I said this for many years. I know Coach Morris, we always would, it's funny, he said, never you and JD are going to go home happy. One of you is going to go home happy, and the other, being the hitting guy, might be me happy one day, might be JD, the pitching guy. He goes, but as the head coach, I'm always going to go home a little upset because some part of the team is not, and that's when you're inter-squadding. You know what I mean? It's just not. So it's hard it's really hard to gauge going into that first game, especially with a lot of new things. Even though we have veteran guys back in the lineup, if you saw our lineup, it's a different lineup. I mean, we're playing some freshmen, some rookies that are in the lineup that haven't been in there. And then, of course, the rotation, as you know, it's all new. Fetterman was a closer. Now he's your Friday guy. You're okay, how's this going to work out? And then you got 2 freshmen going Saturday, Sunday. So, I mean, again, it's something that I know I learned a long time ago from Coach Morris. You're always worried. As a coach, you're always worried. And as a head coach, you're really worried about a lot of things. But we certainly know we have talent. That's a given. We know we have talented players here. It's just, how does it all gel together and work and mesh? And I was really happy. I don't want to say I was surprised, but another thing you don't know, because again, when you're inter-squadding, we don't even really keep score. The way we inter-squad, it sounds terrible. I mean, we played one orange and green game where we kept score, but the way we inter-squad, we use 3 lineups because we're trying to prepare our guys for 2 different lineups to play on the field, 2 different defensive positions. So it's hard to keep score, if you know what I'm talking about that way. So you don't know how they're going to play together as a team. And when they face adversity and, okay, we're down, and it was really nice to see that our guys, they never quit. They just never quit. And in that situation against that team on the road and fighting every game, even the one on Sunday, I know they were the ones battling back, but we still had a fight to keep them off, and we did, and we found a way to finish. So I was very, very happy about that.
All right, Gino, our next question for you comes from Mike DePasquale of WSVN. Mike, go ahead. Mike, you might be on mute.
Okay, there we go. You hear me now? Thank you.
Yep.
Hey, Gino, how are you? Good to see you.
Yeah, same here, Mike.
Hey, let me just ask you this. It's a twofold question. Depending on which polls you look at, you're number 1, at least one poll. So early on, do you feel that your team becomes the hunted now? And number 2, you talked about your kids battling back, especially in game 2 of that series where you went 13 innings. What did they show you against the Gators at that point that were number 1 in the country?
Yeah. Well, the first part in regards to the rankings, that's something that maybe we got a little in starting with me. When I said this, I made this comment the other day about getting caught up. I mean, last year we got up to 1 in some of the polls. When we played Florida, we were 1 and they were 2. And I guess what I mean is we didn't handle it right. I just think that maybe it was that weekend series against Florida. It just was such a highly publicized, and there was so much attention to it, and we were just so excited and amped up. Our pitching, by the way, threw outstanding that weekend. We didn't swing the bat at all, and that was what was disappointing because we had a good lineup. I don't think that was the case this weekend. I thought our hitters were very comfortable, and I thought they gave, in general, good at bats. So, the ranking thing is, yeah, we're ranked one in one poll and only one and a bunch of other ones. But the only poll, again, this is a cliche, but it was something discussed on Thursday night with the team. We had our team meeting that nobody's being crowned national champions right now after this weekend. We're not being fitted for rings after this weekend. Our plan was to come in there and win the series, which nobody gave us any chance of doing. None of the experts, anyways. But we were very confident. I was very happy to see our guys. I thought stayed the course and was very calm, very under control. There was no panic. Didn't feel like there was any pressure, which I thought was a great sign for our guys. And so, the ranking thing, it's the last poll that matters. Wherever we're at throughout this year, my job is to make sure we stay focused on the task at hand and don't get caught up in the rankings, because really they're more for the fans and for the media. And if you get especially nowadays with all the social media and everything, and I'm reading it too as well, you start believing all this stuff and you start getting caught up in it. But we've worked too hard, too long to get to this point to say we got it. Well, we made it. We're here. It's a long season in baseball. We got 47 more games. So I forgot, Mike. I'm sorry. Your second part of the question.
The second question is, you touched on it just a moment ago.
Yeah.
Just what you saw from your kids, but specifically, was there something that you saw in game 2 of that series? You go 13 innings, they battle back. The third game,
right.
you guys had to battle back.
Yeah, I did touch on it. The thing I think I saw is just the calmness of the dugout and the I guess confidence. We certainly got a lot of confidence coming out of there. I know that now, which is good. I mean, you should have confidence taken away from that series, but just the guys were very, very calm and relaxed. And again, I didn't see any panic from anybody, coaches, players, anybody in the dugout. There was no looking around going, oh my goodness, here we go again. We're going to be down 0-2 to these guys. And you just didn't see it. And really, I didn't see it when they were coming back. We were up 8 runs on Sunday, and it wasn't, oh my gosh, you didn't see that. Hey, they're a good team. They were battling back. They're a tough lineup. And, we were fighting our tails off. We obviously, there's some hiccups there. We need to correct. There's no doubt. It's so early. I mean, we're playing 3 weeks. We get ready to start our season. We had a number of guys that were out that didn't even practice most of our practices prior to game 1. So we were sloppy in the field and base running and things like that. But I was just proud of the guys. They just kept fighting and never gave up. Even the game that we had the lead, you still got to finish. And I was very proud of them too for that.
If I could follow real quick, based on what you just said, do you reinforce that now to your kids, considering, look, we did this in Gainesville against Florida because no one thought we could do this. Do you reinforce this now throughout the season?
Possibly. I'd like to think that it's something that's there that I don't need to reinforce. It's in the team. I mean, either you've got it or you don't, but there's no doubt there might be some adversity that we face throughout the year where we have to go back and look at this series and go to it like you're saying, Mike. Right now, I don't think there's no reason to be doing that as a coach. There's sometimes less said is better. I think we had a very good meeting. And again, I'm not going to go into all of it, what was said to the team Thursday night at dinner, but I know when that meeting was over, I can just feel it. It's just something you can just feel in the room that everybody was locked in and ready. And again, it just didn't come from that night, by the way. This has been brewing for a year. This is something we've been dealing with for a year. There's some frustration buildup. There's no doubt from last year, the season getting taken away from us. And we thought we had a team that could maybe run the table. And we weren't able to find that out. And so there's a lot of that inside going on, I'm sure, with everybody, coaches and players. But, I think the team is in a great place, great frame of mind right now. But you never know, Mike, what buttons you have to push or go to. And baseball's a crazy thing because there's so many games. And so, there could be certainly times where we have to relate back to certain things like this series. There's no doubt.
Thank you, Gino.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Gino, we have time for a few more. Next up, we're going to go to Christopher Stock of Inside the U. Chris, go ahead.
Yeah, Gino, I was curious what you made of your pitching in the opening weekend, both your starters and just all the guys that got in there. And you used a lot of guys, but also I was curious about Alex McFarland. Doesn't get in. Is he someone you'd like to get in moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, there's some guys that didn't get in too also. I mean, the most valuable player in the fall didn't get in for the hitters was Chad Bourne. He had an unbelievable fall. It's hard, it's difficult, but to answer your first question, very pleased. If you go by the line of our starting pitchers, it might not have looked so great, but you can't just do that. You have to look at the game itself. And I thought Fetterman threw great. And if you looked at his line, it's not so great. But we didn't play very good defense behind any of our starters either, by the way. Some of them runs are unearned if you look at it. And they got a few hits that maybe weren't hit very hard. If you go back and look at the game on some of those hits. But I thought our pitchers all threw good. I thought they all, Fetterman started off, and he threw the way I think a Friday night guy should. Again, it didn't go our way there. You're facing one of the better lineups. Got to keep that in perspective, one of the better lineups in the country. And then the two freshmen, for their first outing in college baseball and on the road against that lineup and be able to do what they did. And they, they faced some adversity. I'd say that Alejandro Rosario, 5 runs in the first inning, and he settled in and didn't give up any more runs to hold it so that we were able to obviously come back and tie that thing up and win the game. And of course, Medeiros was very good too. But I think they're only going to get better. Best thing coming out of that is the experience, facing a team like that, facing a lineup like that. We're talking about pitchers, and the experience that they can garner from that moving forward. Can't measure that. Cannot measure that. The bullpen, we went to a lot of guys. Some guys threw better than others. Very, very pleased with the back end guys, especially on Saturday. Really, a number of guys threw well in the back end, but Aguayas threw good, and I'm going to leave out some guys on Saturday. But Ben Wanger threw good, and of course Palmquist was great both days. He's the one guy that stands out to me of all the bullpen guys on both days. He was excellent. Actually, better on Sunday. He had more velocity Sunday than he did on Saturday, which is amazing to consider. He threw 3 innings on Saturday, but his pitch count was low, so he was able to go Sunday an inning. And the ball was jumping out of his hand. He was just throwing fastballs, and they couldn't get really good swings on him. So, but McFarland's a guy that we obviously have a lot of faith in. He's a talented guy. Hadn't pitched great in the fall and spring. He was one of the guys battling to be a starter. He's still going to be in the mix of a guy that we're going to have to eventually have a number 4 guy in about 3 weeks. We'll have a midweek game where we'll have to have a guy start that game, which would be our number 4. And he'll get some opportunities. The bottom line is, you get them, you got to take advantage of them, because we do have a lot of competition on this team this year.
All right, Gino, we're going to go to Isabella Didio of the Miami Hurricane. Isabella, go ahead.
Hi, Gino. Going off your answer about, how the team remained so calm and didn't panic against Florida, and specifically the freshmen, do you think they just have an insane level of confidence, or they don't know because they've never played in such a high stakes game? What do you think it is that helped them remain, help them not panic?
Yeah. My answer, is what I feel is that this freshman class, as talented as it is, it might even be just as strong character-wise. That it's just a great class. I'm so excited about it, obviously, with the abilities they have, but got some very, very confident and high character guys that work hard, that I feel can handle adversity, something that we always talk about. I just, until you play the season, you really don't know, but you see it in the inter squads and how guys handle themselves if they make an error, they strike out or whatever, and maybe not quite the same as in real live games, but you still can get a taste of it. And, I'm very high on this freshman class and all the rookies that we have here. You got to throw in some of the rookies too. We have some veteran guys that are rookies, but I don't think they're overwhelmed at all by whoever. If they're ever going to be overwhelmed, it's going to be that first game, opening game, and in that on the road and playing the number 1 team in the country. And I didn't see it by any of our guys, but I'm not surprised, because I've been watching them all fall and spring, and we're very fortunate. We got some special guys here. They're going to be really special players here as years go on.
All right, Gino, our last question for you comes from David Feronas of the Sun Sentinel. David, go ahead.
Hey, Gino, I was actually going to ask a similar question about Christian Del Castillo coming into a new environment and immediately contributing the way he did. So what is it about him, especially, big stage against UF and play so well? And how much has it helped him to get accommodated early on, having Adrian here as well?
Yeah, it's got to help. I'm sure it's got to feel a lot more comfortable. These guys haven't played together. I think I read something since they were 12 years old. So it's got to be really special for the two of them. But he's a 5th-year guy. He's been in college playing college baseball for 4 years. And, college baseball's college baseball. And so he has that experience. So that's why I mentioned, we have rookies that aren't overwhelmed. We also have we have freshmen that are not overwhelmed, but we have some rookie transfers, and him and Ben Wenger come to mind because they're older guys. But you're asking about Deli. Deli has been one of our most, if not most consistent players since he came here first day in the fall and spring in all our practices and inter squads. He's a hardworking guy. He's mentally tough. He's not overwhelmed by anything. He's been most solid player offensively and defensively we've had, and that's why we've started him. And I'm surprised that, because the fact that, first of all, it was kind of how we got him. We didn't really recruit him. Because of his brother. Let's be honest, that's why he's here. And so we're lucky there. I didn't know he was going to be able to play because he's got such an unbelievable class schedule that I wasn't sure he's going to make it to any practices. But it turned out with the online situation with COVID and all that, and some of his classes were recorded, he was able to be at all our practices. But I guess why I'm not surprised is he's got the same last name as the other guy, and they come from the same parents, which I got to think have done a heck of a job with those two guys, because they're both cut out of the same mix, which is they're extremely tough kids, very mentally tough, and they both work very, very hard. They're very businesslike when they come to the ballpark every day, very serious about everything, which is why, both of them are great students. They're great kids. Deli happens to be an unbelievable student. Him and Ben Wenger, I don't know if I've ever seen two student athletes like these guys. They're extremely impressive guys that are going to be very successful in life, let alone baseball.